Now, I'm not the type of person to usually care about shippings, and especially not in a series like One Piece. But for all you Zoro fanboys out here, I think you'll be excited to hear that Zoro will indeed end up with the baddest female the land of Wano has to offer. I have come up with one of my most grand theories yet, and it revolves around Hiyori, Zoro, Wano, and the Kitsune lore. This theory is heavily based on Japanese Kitsune and the Nine-Tails Fox or Kyuubi of Western mythology. And who knows, by the end of this video, you may come to agree with some of my takes on the future of Hiyori's character and even find yourself appreciating her so much more. Without further ado, I present to you Kozuki Hiyori, the Royal Kitsune. First, to explain my thoughts on this theory on Hiyori and her purpose in Wano, we must first dive into and explore the Kitsune in the Japanese mythology. Most of this theory directly correlates with this, so it's important to explain how I arrived at my conclusion. A Kitsune is a fox of Japanese folklore. Kitsune are known to have a deep-rooted connection to the spirit world. They are known to be mischievous tricksters and well recognized as intelligent, sneaky, and cunning creatures. Terms like smart as a fox and sly fox go with this depiction perfectly. Another characteristic of a Kitsune is their foxy good looks. There are many stories and tales of Kitsune being able to shapeshift into humans. A more well-known idea is that the Kitsune transform into beautiful women and wives. Many are known to play pranks and deceive men with their seduction. This seductive Kitsune is an idea that began in Japan, so much so that if a beautiful woman had certain foxy features, a woman could be accused of being a Kitsune in disguise. There are plenty of tales that involve Kitsune disguised as beautiful women showing up in a panic at your doorstep. They will appear desperate and in distress, but will end up stealing your food and valuables. These trickster Kitsune oftentimes specifically target greedy and boastful people, and there are also tales of targeting prideful samurai. There is also a much more menacing counterpart to the trickster Kitsune, and that is the evil Kitsune. An evil Kitsune is known for luring people into shadowy dark alleyways to kill and harm people, and even target poor villages and monks. The Kitsune can be separated into two main groups: the Zenko, which are messengers of the goddess Inari, a deity of agriculture which makes foxes the animal of agriculture and fertility and good fortune. These foxes were responsible for protecting the Shinto temple. Think of the foxes that lead you into these shrines like in Ghost of Tsushima. The Yoko, however, were malicious foxes that attacked people, learned to speak like humans, and they would range from pranksters to evil demonic fox spirits. These are the tricksters and evil Kitsune. There are plenty of stories of these evil Kitsune possessing people by entering their dreams. Kitsune travel back and forth through the human and spirit worlds, and they always strive to keep promises made to humans and will do whatever it takes to return a favor. Many stories of humans earning respect of a Kitsune is common, and tales of Kitsune yearning to become wives of powerful rich men or honorable samurai are common throughout Japan as well. When a Kitsune falls in love with a man, it transforms into a beautiful woman in order to please the man and accomplish their goal of becoming a wife. It's even common for a man to find out after decades that his wife is actually a fox. Another common belief is that even when Kitsune transform, they won't have to hide their tails. A human with a fox tail is a Kitsune transformed as a human, and this is because even when they transform, they still have their tail. There's also the legendary tail known as the Nine-Tailed Fox. After living for 1,000 years, a Kitsune will become the legendary Nine-Tailed Fox, a godlike being with golden or silver fur. This form gives them elemental abilities such as fire and lightning, and another common belief is that once a Kitsune becomes a Nine-Tailed Fox, it will acquire an ability to see and hear everything that happens throughout the world. Some stories even say that the Nine-Tailed Fox can fly, turn invisible, and create illusion. Although the Kitsune is said to transform into a nine-tailed fox after 1,000 years, it's more commonly believed that you can tell a Kitsune's age based off the number of tails. Every tail represents a century. This will mean that when a nine-tailed fox transforms, it actually is 900 years old, not 1000. The biggest story of the most legendary nine-tailed fox is Tamamo no Mae, a tale of a nine-tailed fox who took the life of a Japanese emperor but ended up dying in a fight between two legendary samurai. In another version of Tamamo no Mae, a young girl was adopted when she is found in the woods and grows to be a beautiful woman and entrances a Japanese emperor. In some variations, the woman curses the emperor ill. The emperor was blinded by her tricks and beauty and didn't notice she was an evil nine-tailed fox. Two skilled warriors are sent to capture and murder her, and she was finally killed by one of them, and her spirit is combined with a boulder and becomes known as the Killing Stone, a stone where if you come into contact with it, you will die. And in this version, a monk goes on and listens to the girl's story. She explains how when she was found in the woods, she was already cursed to be a nine-tails, and she believes that her previous parents abandoned her. She says how she loved her new parents because they loved her for who she was. One day, her father, who was framed for treason and exiled by the courts, was killed for his false crime. Grief led to an urge of revenge, and this dark outburst led to Tamamo no Mae giving into the demonic fox spirit within her. The monks eventually released her spirits into the sky after explaining that she's lived a life of sadness, anger, and regret. There are many variations of Tamamo no Mae, and they often involve seducing a Japanese ruler and the downfall of the kingdom. She is one of the most notorious yokai and even on the top 3 most evil yokai list, a very famous character in Japanese mythology. However, aside from the myths, there is a specific story incorporated from the real world as to how she became so famous. One emperor that Tamamo no Mae seduced was Toba, a Japanese ruler during the Heian period. Soon after she died, Toba also died, along with his son soon after that, who was the current emperor at the time. Many believe that Tamamo no Mae was the reason for all these events happening within a similar time period. Some even say it was an act of revenge. So with all that being said, I've explained to you about the Kitsune, the Nine-Tails lore, Tamamo no Mae, a famous Nine-Tails legend, and also keep in mind the agriculture and nourishment factor of the Kitsune, because that would definitely play into the Wano storyline. And with all that information, I believe it's finally time to bring it back into One Piece. So first, let's talk about Hiyori the Kitsune. In Hiyori's first ever appearance, we see her with a Kitsune mask. Now, if that isn't enough to sway you that she is a Kitsune connection, let's look at her character. Hiyori has many character traits and storylines that seem to be extracted straight from the Kitsune lore. First, she is known as the most beautiful woman in all of Wano, a direct trait from a shape-shifting Kitsune, and she has a false identity also known as Komurasaki. Early on, we've seen Komurasaki behaving just like the Kitsune tales. She uses seduction and manipulation to take money from these men, and she specifically chooses men she deemed deserving of this. But then we find out that she went on to give out the money to the poor. We also know the gold digging aspect is fake as well. Hiyori loves Wano and is very prideful being the daughter of Oden. She's very kind to those she cares about, but she despises Lord Orochi, the emperor of Wano. And remember, what is Hiyori's one goal? Her one true goal is to kill Lord Orochi herself. Hiyori goes from being a mischievous, blindingly beautiful, manipulating swindler with a fake side and fake identity to a damsel in distress who has a huge heart and passion for her family, friends, and country. There is a certain level of tragedy to her character, and we'll definitely get into that as well. Kozuki Hiyori seems to be heavily inspired by Kitsune. She's beautiful, seductive, two-faced, and we even see her dedication by having an entire fake identity and putting her all into the Komurasaki lie. She's deceptive and a trickster. Hiyori even fakes her fake identity's death. How much more deceptive could you possibly get? Think about how she randomly pops into the Onigashima raid. She begins her song and instantly Enma surges with power. Myself and many others believe that this had some correlation to Hiyori, and since we all know that Oden loved the song she played as a child, but not only that, we also see Hiyori go with Orochi, and since Komurasaki was thought to have been dead, it's become some kind of dreamlike illusion to Orochi. If I had to take a guess, I would have to say that there are a few paths for Hiyori's character, and one is that she will kill Orochi during the raid, which would be an amazing moment. If you're going to base the story off the Nine-Tails Tamamo no Mae, then it fits perfectly with the idea in killing him. Sadly though, I think this could possibly mean that she could also end up dying. I don't think Hiyori will die, but it's definitely a possibility. It would be such a personal act of revenge, since in the yokai folktale that I mentioned, her father was falsely accused of treason and killed for his false crimes. This reminds me of Oden, who had a very similar tragic end. This revenge is similar to Hiyori, and her deep vengeful ambitions may also been inspired by the tale. Hiyori killing Orochi would be one of the most personal and satisfying deaths in all of One Piece, and honestly I'm surprised that he hasn't been killed off yet, but maybe Oda is saving it for the perfect opportunity where Hiyori kills him with her own hands. And now aside from that, what are the other Kitsune connections? Zoro and Hiyori have their little mini story within Wano that is directly tied to a shape-shifting Kitsune. Zoro has to deal with Onimaru or Yukimaru when attempting to take Shisui back. This is all tied in when we find out Onimaru was the companion of the late Shinosuke Ushimaru, a man who always traveled with a fox. We also hear from Kawamatsu the Kappa about the inherited will concept, with samurai passing on their wills through their katanas when they die. And later on, we find out about the comparison between Zoro and Ushimaru. His entire story we get previously with Hiyori and Zoro and Yukimaru and Onimaru, it ends up paying off later during the raid. Let's talk about Onimaru. He is a shape-shifting fox inspired by Kitsune lore. He is a protector of Wano and a loyal partner even after death. I think it's very intentional by Oda to have Hiyori and Zoro both heavily involved in this storyline. The only 2 times Onimaru is shown, Hiyori and Zoro are both the central focus. We also get to see Hiyori's reaction to Zoro, and she's in awe of his raw power and strength. Hiyori has specific reactions to both the Kitsune and Zoro using his 3-sword style. When Hiyori sees an injured Zoro, absolutely destroy, kill her, and protect her from the assassin. I think Zoro reminded her of her father Oden. Maybe it's the fact that Zoro is a powerful samurai pirate who wields multiple swords. So to recap, I believe Hiyori's character revolves around the Kitsune mythology. She's the most beautiful woman in Wano, she's seductive and manipulating, and she targets a very specific type of men. She has a fake identity and even fakes her own death, deceiving the people of Wano. Her father was arrested and killed for treason, which sparked her motivations to kill Lord Orochi, just like the story Tamamo no Mae. She has a storyline that directly correlates with a shape-shifting Kitsune. She's extremely loyal to those she cares about, and you can say that she has a connection to the spirits as we see her song influence Emma and give Zoro a ridiculous power boost. And more importantly, she has been seen wearing a Kitsune mask multiple times in the series. We've spoken about Oden, but what about Toki? Each of the 9 tails represents 100 years, equaling 900 years, and do I really need to explain the significance of a 900-year time period in One Piece? Toki, Hiyori's mother, is the only character that we know that is from the void century. So this could be a possible connection to the 9 tails lore. I believe that when we see Hiyori playing the music with a mask on, it represents 2 different things. The song represents Oden as he loved to hear her play the shamisen, and Kitsune mask represents her mother, who is from the void century, which represents 900 years. So during this scene, we are seeing her pay respects to both of her parents. Another character that we have to talk about is Catarina Devon. I know what you're thinking. If Hiyori's based on the Kitsune and Nine Tails mythology, where is her tail? Well, I don't think she's an actual fox just based off of it. Although I do think it would be cool to see Hiyori get her hands on the mythical zone, Nine Tails Devil Fruit. Currently, Catarina Devon has the Nine Tails Fruit, and there's quite a bit to go over here. Most of you will say that it's impossible for Hiyori to get a Nine Tails because of this. I think there are a few possible workarounds. Like I mentioned earlier in the lore part of the video, there are typically 2 types of Kitsune, Zenko and Yako. So maybe Oda will be able to incorporate this into One Piece. An evil Nine Tails and a good Nine Tails. When you look at the devil fruits in Wano, we have Kaido, a dragon which is one of the most famous mythological animals in all of Japan. Yamato has another mythical zone which is known to be an ancient wolf deity, the protector of Wano. This creature has deep ties to Japanese mythology, and Kaido even says how rare and important it is to find. And then we have Momo, a central force of Wano, the brother to Hiyori and son of Oden. Of course, a character that's important has to have an important devil fruit, and he has the artificial fruit of Kaido. So with this scenario, is it out of the realm of possibilities that Hiyori could also receive an artificial replica of the Nine Tails mythical zone fruit? Oda originally intended Blackbeard to have a crew member named Kitsune. I think it's fair to say that this idea is what we now have with Catarina Devon. I find it intriguing that Oda introduces the Nine Tail Fox ability around the same time as we are getting the Komurasaki and Hiyori chapters. Also, the Kyuubi or Nine Tails Fox is famous from Japan, so don't you think it could be a good fit in an arc like Wano? And let's think about Catarina Devon, also known as the Crescent Moon Hunter. Catarina Devon, owner of the Kyuubi or Nine Tails Devil Fruit, is a notorious pirate and member of the Blackbeard Pirates. According to Viver card information, Catarina Devon has become feared by women all across the world as Catarina hunts for women she finds beautiful and decapitates their heads to add them to her personal collection. She declares this as a pursuit of beauty. So with that being said, if we do get a scenario where Catarina Devon comes looking to kill Hiyori, the most beautiful woman in Wano, I think that would be a perfect fit for her character. I think her title, the Crescent Moon Hunter, could play a huge factor in all this. We know the Crescent Moon is an integral symbol of the Kozuki clan, with Oden, Toki, and Hiyori wearing it. And I've already explained Hiyori's relevance with the Kitsune, so the Crescent Moon Hunter hunting down the most beautiful woman in all of Wano fits so good that I definitely think it could happen down the line. Now, before we get into the second most important character in the entire video, I want to take a minute for everyone to reply to this one question. What pairing do you ship the most in One Piece? Zoro and Hiyori, Oa and Luffy, or Sanji and Pudding? Let me know in the comments, and personally my answer is Zoro and Hiyori. I spoke of Zoro and Hiyori as a couple, and I think it could be one of the great ships that I support in the entire series. So let's talk about Zoro's connection to the Kitsune. First up, we have Zoro's demonic form, which he calls the 9-sword demon style. Is it a coincidence? 9 swords, 9 tails? Think about Onimaru and his name. Oni meaning demon, so a demon fox that Zoro encounters. We also know that Zoro can use Kinemon's foxfire style, and like we discussed previously, he had the Onimaru shapeshifting fox storyline in the beginning of Wano with Hiyori. Zoro and Hiyori are the critical factors to this storyline as he protected her and then eventually brought him to the bridge to try and get his sword back. Hiyori, who wears the fox mask, has fox encounters and connections and is tied to Zoro in Wano. There's also the comparison between Shimotsuki Ushimaru and Zoro, the last daimyo of Ringo. Onimaru is Ushimaru's companion and is the same one that Zoro and Hiyori ended up encountering in Wano. Ushimaru had an eye injury just like Zoro has one eye. We hear that Zoro resembles Ushimaru in his youth. Hyogoro even refers to Zoro as the spitting image, and Kawamatsu says that Zoro's style is the same, and I believe this could be a way to say that Ushimaru used the 3-sword style or the demonic 9-sword style. We already know that Zoro had 2 swords that came from the Shimotsuki clan, so maybe he will even get a 3rd. The biggest difference between Zoro and Ushimaru is the fact that Zoro does not have a loyal fox companion. So bringing it back, who is Zoro's loyal Kitsune companion? That's right, I believe it will be none other than Hiyori. First up, we know that Hiyori has massive daddy issues, witnessing her own father being burned alive, and he was killed when she was only 6 years old. Orochi has diluted the Kozuki name across Wano, and we see how much she values being the daughter of Oden. In one scene, when she's about to cry, she stops herself and claims that she must be strong because she's the daughter of a legendary samurai. It's funny because Oden even writes in his journal about how not to shed a tear, and we all know what happened when he departed from Roger's crew. During their adventure, Zoro is mostly using the 2-sword style at the time, and that's important because I think it's a way that Hiyori was reminded of her father through Zoro. But the information that we get from Kawamatsu is clear that this is Oden's will being inherited by Zoro when Hiyori gives him Enma. Hitetsu even says that Hiyori sees Oden in Zoro, and that could be a reason why she trusted him with Enma so easily. We also see Hiyori acting like a straight up wife with Zoro, something that never happened previously. Zoro saves her multiple times, so this is a way of her repaying the favor. From my perspective, you can tell Hiyori is into Zoro, and she even cuddles up with him when he was sleeping and recovering from his wound. She tries genuinely flirting with him, but Zoro is just too dense to flirt back. More importantly, they share an emotional bond through the death of Yasui, and they both want revenge on Orochi. Also, based on Zoro as a character, I think it would be perfect for him to end up with the Moon Princess, the samurai princess of Wano. They both seem to have a connection to the Kitsune. The fox also representing agriculture and fertility, this could play a big factor into one of Wano's biggest themes and storylines. One massive aspect of Wano early on is the idea that Kaido and Orochi use Oden's farm for themselves. They even waste the food while many citizens of Wano are starving and suffering from malnutrition. Luffy, a man who likes to eat more than anything else, sees the problem with this, and it is the reason why I love Tama's character so much, as she shared her only birthday food with Luffy. Also, think about this for a second. How do we meet Zoro? That's right, a starving man hanging from a cross for a month. Zoro's very introduction is tied with the ongoing storyline and themes within Wano. A man that was so grateful for the little amount of food that even when it was stomped on the ground, Zoro still ate every last dirty bite. He even tells Luffy to tell the girl that made him the onigiri that it tasted so good. This is the one thing that I think always brought Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro together, because what is Sanji's biggest gripe? People who waste food. There's a common understanding from these three, and that is the appreciation for food. And when the Straw Hats free Wano from Kaido and Orochi's rule, they are directly affecting the people's hunger by allowing the entire country to thrive once again. Wano starts with Tama saving Luffy and feeding her, and we learn about this malnutrition very early on. And soon after, Zoro and Luffy steal food and give it back to who it was intended for by Oden, the people of Wano. Zoro is directly linked to the message in a very serious way from the start of the arc. However, so is Hiyori, because when Hiyori is scamming these pervy old men, Denjiro then goes and provides to the people of Wano under a Robin Hood like identity, and while disguised he gives them the money because they are so poor to buy food, clean water, and other basic necessities of life. So how does Hiyori repay Zoro when he first saved her? She feeds him. She's taking care of our sexist, racist boy Zoro. A simple yet important scene. And after Wano, the country will begin to prosper once again. I hope Luffy can make Wano his territory. Oden's farm will definitely be important to the recovery recovery of the poor people and hungry people within the country. So from an agricultural standpoint, the Kitsune is ingrained into Wano, with Hiyori being a Kitsune and Zoro also having many Kitsune connections. Let's talk about one possible power that Zoro may gain in the future, observation haki, and Zoro is a powerful haki user. His master Hawkeye Mihawk is speculated to have insane observation haki. There's always been a lot of speculation with Zoro's eye as well. I want you to remember one specific ability that the Ninetales had. That's right, they could see and hear everything throughout the entire world. So is it possible that Hawkeye Mihawk has the Hawk Eyes, while Zoro will inherit the Fox Eyes? In the end, however, I'm theorizing that Hiyori and Zoro will end up together. There's a good chance that Hiyori may never get the Fox Devil Fruit, however, I do believe that she will always represent the Kitsune of Wano. The one thing Zoro is missing from the comparison to Onimaru is the Fox Loyal Companion. Just think about Spice and Wolf, but with a Kitsune twist, a Kitsune wife instead. A possible plotline in the future could be Zoro protecting Hiyori from Catarina Devon as she tries to add the Head of the Moon Princess of Wano to her collection, the Crescent Moon Hunter versus the Pirate Hunter. But finally, with all that being said, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll leave you with one last mind-blowing fact. Did you know the name Zoro translates directly to fox?